Greetings, everyone. Thanks for attending the webinar here for Easy Team Builder version 5 for the batch processor. Super excited about this one. We've got myself here. We've got Alyssa here. I will be presenting. If you have any questions during it, go ahead and ask in the chat. Alyssa will be answering that in the chat or forwarding those questions to me after the demonstration. So first thing is there's a poll in here. So go ahead and click on that if you haven't, because we're just trying to get a feel for how many Pixnub users we have here and how many people are experienced with Easy Team Builder versus brand new users. So depending on that and what types of questions we have, the content might change. There's no recorded videos. This is all just live. I'm going to go in and show you Easy Team Builder on my computer. So hopefully that all goes well. Looks like we've got sunny skies based on Alyssa's background here, but we are in South Florida. We get daily thunderstorms. So if the internet kicks out, which sometimes we get power bumps, just stay around because our modem usually takes a couple minutes to reboot. I think we'll be okay today. So to get started, I'm just going to do a couple of basic demonstrations, and then we'll go from there based on what questions you have. Let's try to keep the questions pertaining to Easy Team Builder, hopefully pertaining to batch processing if you can. I don't want to stray too far off course here, but with that said, I'm going to share my screen and get going here. So Alyssa, can you see my screen here?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so first thing is we'll need to open the plugin. So if you've used Easy Team Builder before, this should be pretty simple for most people, as long as you kind of have a basic understanding of the program. And I'm not going to be doing complete tutorial here, so I'm not taking you through Easy Team Builder from the ground up. I'm just going to showcase the batch processing part, and we'll go from there. So this works a bit differently than the SPA batch processor. For this, you don't tell it your template. You're going to have an image open that you're ready to build teams into. And I'll show one of each, one with the template and one with just a blank document. We'll start out with just the blank document. So just from this starting point, you'll have, if you're doing a blank document, of course, you'll have a blank layer called Easy Team. Actually, I'm going to change this one. I'm going to start out with a single row just so we can talk about the different options you have when you build for doing single row versus multi-row. And then we'll get into a little bit later and showcase how you can actually import your own layouts in batch as well. But let's say I just want to build teams in a panoramic here. So I've got the layout I want or the dimensions I want for the team. It's really, really simple. So you go to the batch processor, which is going to use all of your settings here from like if you go to from the home menu just to build teams, that takes you to your settings here. Or if you click batch processor, you're in here. Same thing as if you just click batch processor straight from the home menu. The only thing you need to run a batch is a source folder and a save folder, and tell it what you want to save the files it has and hit go. That's really it. Of course, there's a few more things to talk about than that, or we wouldn't be having this. But just for a simple demonstration, I'm going to do 2 teams because you don't want to probably sit here and watch a bunch of teams build. So we'll just do a folder I know that has 2 teams. Let's select a place to save this. And then you'll select a save type. And you can select single layer images or single layer file types. I recommend not doing that. I recommend just using the PSB, which is going to save you a layered document. There's PSD and PSB. PSB is Photoshop's large document. That does not have a size restriction where PSD does. So I recommend, if you don't know how large teams are going to be for file size, just use PSB because you'll know they'll always save that way. And that's it. We can just hit start. Before I do, I want to point out that there's 2 ways that Easy Team Builder knows how to group your teams together. You can choose to have it grouped from subfolders to where you'll have each team in their own folder, or you can group it from a CSV where all of your images will be in the same folder, and then it's going to use that CSV to separate them. So I'll talk about the CSV on the next batch I do, but for now I'm just going to choose subfolders because my teams are all separated into subfolders. So this is just going to pop you up a window that says, okay, verify all your settings are good. That way you don't waste your time building a batch with the wrong settings. Just check them. It's going to give me a smart object warning that basically says we're going to use a lot of scratch disk. So Photoshop's terrible about scratch disk. Pretty much everybody knows that. I recommend using a dedicated external for a scratch disk. If you're going to do large batches in particular, that'll keep Photoshop from running out of scratch disk space. So now it's just going to give us a status here. We can see we're only building 2 teams. It's telling us what it's doing for each team, and it'll just show you the status of that. And once one team finishes, it's going to give you an estimated remaining time, just so you can kind of see the progress. Okay, we'll just give this a minute to finish, and then we will open the layered document and discuss it. Okay, I told you I think I told you I was going to start out with a panel, and I didn't do that. So that will give me a chance to discuss something here because, like I say, this is a live demo, not recorded. And I already did mess this up. So I built a multi-row in this when I wanted single row. No big deal. Let's just start this over so you can see right off the bat how you would change that. If you go into your settings here, there's this new thing in Easy Team Builder 5 where you'll see a Manage Layouts button and then a drop down with different layout presets. This comes with a single row preset and a multi-row. You can add your own, which I'll be discussing in this webinar later, so you can customize the number of images per row. But I'm just going to select the single row defaults, go back to the batch processor, and hit start again. Sorry about that. I just wasted 60 seconds of your life, but we'll get through this. All right, so if we go to our save folder here, let's open these 2 last ones we did. We can see that it's built us those single row panoramic layouts we want. It's fit those to the canvas. You can also, of course, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. You could also scale and move the whole team if you want to. It's also brought everything in as smart objects. So each individual image is in its own smart object as well. And that makes it so you can do non-destructive scaling. So say you needed to scale one player up. You can do that without losing quality, or if you need to scale the entire team up, you can do that without losing quality. And that smart objects is a setting in here we can choose. Something new to Easy Team Builder 5. On version 4, it defaulted to no smart objects, and you only had the option of full smart objects or none. This has a size optimized smart object, which is the default now. And what that is not the full size of the images. It's the size of the image that's 25% larger than it needs to be for the template. So that gives you some rescaling ability, but it's not going to waste as much disk space and as much RAM and scratch disk as bringing in all the full-size smart objects. But you can change that if you want. So pretty slick. And of course, one of the things that I hear people discuss when I see other forums, and if Pixnub gets suggested and people say, oh, no, I can't use that because I like to customize everything. Well, I think a lot of people don't realize is that Pixnub is fully customizable. You can rearrange images as you see fit and pretty much configure your players however you want once it's built. So it's still a huge time saver to get all the images into neatly grouped rows with individual players as well. So what I recommend, if you think you're going to need to edit the placement of all your teams, I'm going to show you another real slick workflow that you can do. And that is with the Workflow Helper plugin. So what this plugin does is it's a batch processor that does nothing, and it can be used for doing your own manual edits for any folder of images that you have. I'm going to go back here and delete those first two teams that we don't need. So if you're doing a large batch, I mean, I only did 2 teams here, but you might be doing 200 teams. And we did those as layered documents. And say now you want to just go in and fine tune everything that you did and then save those off as single layer files. So you could use SPA to import into memory mates or whatever. So in the Workflow Helper, we're going to take that image of files that we finished. So this is the PSB layered documents. I'm going to tell it to make a new folder. Just call it finished. And then for this, let's save it as a single layer TIFF. You can do a ping if you want, whatever. Just a TIFF or ping or a WEPI is going to have transparency. So select one of those. That should be it. So let's hit run. So what that's done is it's opened up the finished team where you could, let's say you wanted to switch 2 players around here. And then let's say you needed to scale this team. And then maybe center them. Or however you want to do this, you just do any edits you want. Then once you're done, you hit save and continue. Then it's going to pull up the next image. I always do that. So whenever you want to just make sure that you don't accidentally select one layer instead of an entire, if you want to keep the entire row or the entire team selected, in the move tool, this auto select, if it's on, will select a layer. If it's off, it won't, just as FYI. Okay, once I'm done, save it. Oops, got to accept, then save and continue. If you've never used this Workflow Helper before, it is one of the slickest little plugins. And it's not just, of course, for Easy Team Builder. It's for anything that you want to edit a folder of images. It just keeps the workflow going. So you don't have to keep track of it in your mind. You don't have to click to save every image. So anyways, we've got now 2 single layer files you could feed into SPA or whatever you're using your teams for. And you can quickly edit those. So like I say, you're doing a batch of 100 teams. You walk away during that batch, go golf, go fish, do whatever, let it finish your teams, then come back and they're ready to edit without you staring at the computer screen. All right, so I'm going to take it a step further here, and we are going to build a team into a layered PSD file. So we can do a batch like that as well. Okay, so let's say we have this layered document, and in this case, it's got an easy team layer, and it's going to put the team right in this layer, as well as it's got a SPA layer, which is what the Sports Photo Automation plugin uses. So if you're batching, it can import teams directly into that. So in the case of doing a easy team, we don't want this layer, so I'll just hide it. So you can do any setups you want to your template before you hit start. So if you're doing a bunch of teams that you know are going to be the same color or maybe the same text, you can edit that ahead of time. In my case, I've got an action to quickly do that. Let's just set up the colors and the scheme for the template I want. So once you get your template to the point where you want to build your teams, this is the starting point for running your batch for Easy Team Builder. Before I do this, I'm going to go erase the last two we did. Now, Photoshop's locked the document, no big deal, whatever. Okay, so let's go back to Easy Team Builder. For this one, I'm also going to demonstrate the CSV just so we can do something different. I can show that as well. So inside, let me go back to my folder here. So the folder I did last time where so this is the one I ran last time where we had each individual team in its own folder. And you could have as many teams as you want, of course. I only had 2 in this demonstration. But if you want to run a CSV, it's different. You're going to have, here we go. You're going to have all of the players, and this is only 2 teams. So if you had 100 teams, you would have all 100 teams in the same folder. And then, let me see if this works. Yeah. So then you'd have a CSV, and your CSV can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in that same folder. But your CSV you can use to define how it's going to group the teams. And it's very basic for Easy Team Builder. You have a column for all of your images, and then you have a team ID column, which can be any text you want. It doesn't matter. It's just looking to group where the text matches. So it's going to take all the Aspire volleyball with the matching text, group those, and the Trojans basketball. It's going to group these. And you can have, like I say, as many as you want. All right, so with that in mind, first thing, let's go back to our settings. And for this, I want to do multi-row. So remember we had this drop down to select the layouts. I'm going to select the multi-row defaults. And then in the team grouping, instead of having it subfolders, in this case, I'm going to use a CSV. Then I find that CSV that I just showed you, open that. And if you don't get any errors, that's a good sign. It means it's probably imported okay. Now I need to select that folder that has the combined players. Save those in the same place. Save as a PSB layered again. I'm just going to hit start. Again, of course, this is the point where you'd be away from the computer while it's doing all 100 teams of yours or whatever it is you have. All right, at this point, I'm going to close this and we'll run the workflow helper step again. And this is how I recommend me doing all these, quite frankly, is this workflow helper is so slick. It's going to be the same save folder we just finished. Everything should be good to go here. Oh, you know what? Let's save it as a JPEG this time. This is going to be our finished product that we are selling here. All right, so now it's pulled up. You can see that it's pulled up the finished image, but we have all of our layers here. We can adjust the team and our template if we want. So we wanted to make them a little bigger, which we can because we're still smart objects. So we're non-destructive on that. I'm going to show you another slick trick too. When you get to this point, if you're doing this workflow helper batch, the Sports Photo Automation plugin is really slick for being able to import text and rescale your text. And this option to test your SPA setup, if you've got your template set up with SPA layers, you can actually use this right now. And oh, wrong place here. And what's great about this is it goes through SPA's text scaling options if you've got your template set up for it. Like, for example, where it says league name -RM, that means if the text is too long, resize maximum is what that stands for. It's going to scale that down. So you could also make any other edits to your template you wanted to at this time. You could go into any of your graphics and change the colors or whatever. For this one, remember, I already set the template colors to the colors I wanted to start, which match this particular team. So I'll just hit save and continue. It's now making us the JPEG copy, bringing the next team up. Same procedure. I can scale and just optimize the placement of that where I want. Or I could go in and, if I thought it wasn't quite centered. Oh, you know what? Be careful too on if you're centering to the canvas here, because if your players were not cut out perfectly and you have extra little bits and pieces of background, that center to it might not work. But in this case, you can see where the bounding box is. They were all cropped perfectly. So we're good to go there. And then, of course, we could go into our, nope, not there, text replacement. Okay, now in this case, the colors don't match. I happen to have an action here that will make them match, which having actions for your own specific teams for your templates is really slick. And with this Venom template, this one is actually a really good example that comes with all of these actions already set up, ready to go. But it just makes things a lot easier, and you can move the process along without having to go edit a bunch of layers for every single team. Right, so let's, and then of course, I only had 2 teams here, but if I had more, you would be able to do as many as you wanted there in Workflow Helper. So now you see post Workflow Helper, we've got single layer JPEG images that were saved, ready to sell to the customer. All right, so that's all well and good, but here's the thing with Easy Team Builder too. When I did a poll, like 90% of the people, I think it was even more, I think it was like 95, said that they often change the default number of images per row. So like in Easy Team Builder, let's go back in there here. if you go to build a single team, let's go to, I know, let's go. Let's find one single team to build. Let's just, I'm not going to actually run this, but I'm going to at least get to the screen where we change the number of images. So I hit build team, it pops you up this number of images per row. Now, say you didn't want to use those defaults. I have got an example here, I think, on the desktop. Okay, so I'm going to use this team as an example. So this one was 15 players, and the default is 3 rows, 6, 5, and 4. Well, let's say you wanted to not use this and wanted to build these teams, for example, with 2 rows of 8 and 7. What we have in Easy Team Builder 5 is these row layouts, which I just demonstrated the single and the multi. I'm going to show you how you can actually import your own layout in that will get added to this drop-down list. And there's no maximum to the number of layouts you can create. So you can create different layouts for different leagues or templates or whatever that is. All right, so if we go back to the home menu here, and there's this Manage Layouts button. This is where you'll import or export layouts. You can export all of your layouts from one computer, import them into another computer. You can export, in this case, what I'm going to do is just a starter, layout starter files. I'm just going to put these on the desktop. So what that has done, let me find it. I've got a mess going on here. Here we go. It's created a new folder called Easy Team Builder Layout Templates. And it's just exported the single row layout template and the multi-row as starter templates for me. Now, if you're only going to make one, delete the one you don't want, because when you import, you're importing a whole folder, not a single file. So I'm going to just go with one file here. I'm going to name this ahead of time, just to what I want. We'll just call it my layouts, whatever you would call it, whatever you want to for your situation. If anybody's never used this LibreOffice, by the way, this is pretty much a clone of Excel. I've got mine set to dark mode here, but if you don't like that, you don't have to have it black and white here. All right, in any case, so what this has is it has the defaults exported as a CSV file. And the first column is the athlete count. It goes up to 300. And you can add more above 300, but the defaults only go up to 300. The rule is you cannot have any more than 100 in a row, and there's only 12 rows your builds can have. So that does give you the option to go up to 1,200 total if you keep those within 12 rows. But for this case, I'm just going to change one of these, because remember that one that we talked about had 15 players, and I didn't want 6, 5, and 4. Instead, I wanted 8 and 7. So we'll plug in 8 and 7. And then the third row, 0. You just have to be careful to make sure that all of your math is correct, because if it's not, if all of the, each of these columns is one player row, but if all of the math doesn't add up, like for example, if I put 8 and 8 in here, oops, wrong spot, not mean to do that. If I put 8 and 8 here, which equals 16 and doesn't match what I have for the total athlete count, it's not going to import. It's going to throw an error and tell you to fix your template or fix your CSV here. I showed a video how to make a formula to easily check all of your inputs to make sure they add up correctly. I'm not going to go through that here, but watch that training video I made on that. And in this case, I'm only doing 1, so we know 8 plus 7 equals 15. We should be good. So all right, whenever you're saving any files for any of the Pixnub plugins, I'm in LibreOffice Calc here, so I'll click Edit Filter Settings. And I want to make sure that the character set is Unicode UTF-8. And in Excel, there's actually a UTF-8 option available, I think, right when you hit save. Just make sure that's the character set you're saving, because if it's defaulting to like Western Europe or something, which sometimes the programs do, it may not work depending on the characters. Like if you have special characters, that'll throw that off. So always use Unicode UTF-8. All right, so now let's go back to, I'm not going to run a batch. I'm just going to do a quick one-off just to show you this. Okay, so when you go to run a batch, if you wanted to select that new layout that you just, first we got to import the layouts. I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here. So first thing we need to do is go back to Manage Layouts and then select Import Layouts. This is just telling us that we're going to overwrite any layouts that have the same name. And we select the folder that has all of our layouts underneath it. You're not selecting an individual file. I set it up this way. That way you can export all of your layouts from one computer, import them into another, but you're always selecting a folder. And if you don't get any errors, that means everything should work. You see my layouts here in the Manage Layouts. You won't see the defaults for single row and multi-row here because those are hard-coded in the system. In this section, you only see your custom layouts. All right, so when we go to batch process, you don't see those layouts as an option. You have to go into actually your change team builder settings. And then you'll see you have your layouts as an option. So this same drop down, whether you're building one team or you're building a batch, you'll use this same drop down here. So if you needed to then batch, you'd click the batch process. Or if you needed to build a single team, you'd build the single team right here. So I'm going to build a single team. I'm going to grab, I think I have that on this desktop. Yeah, the ARFC. All right, so I've got my layout selected. I'll leave everything else as default and just hit build. And so now it's imported that 8 and 7 that we have. And you can change your layouts here. So for example, if you wanted to do a single row, if you choose that, those layout presets, you see it goes to 15 and 0. The defaults were the 6, 5, 4. And then we've got our layouts, which is 8 and 7. Now, if you're batching, of course, you're not going to get this window, but it's just going to use whatever you had selected in that drop down. Okay, you can see now it did do the 2 rows like we specified. So that's really, really powerful feature to have because like in this example, I did a 3:2 aspect ratio. So depending on what you have for your team layout in your design, let me open let me see. Okay, so if you're using SPA to import your teams into them, it's a good idea to know exactly the dimensions that works for that template to what it's set up for, and then build your teams to that. So in the example of this image, we can see that we've got 4,800 by 2,400 pixels. And we can see in our, if we go into the Team Smart object, you can see down here it's 4,800. It's probably hard to see. So if I go here, we can see we're 4,800 by 2,400 pixels for the Smart object for the team. So when you're batching your teams, if you know it's going to go into that, you can set up your number of images per row to look best for the aspect ratio you have. So if you were going to do a row of 2, you might have a 3:2 aspect ratio in one of your templates, and you know that 2 rows for players up to 25 or whatever looks good for that aspect ratio. And then when you batch, you would create a document that matches that 4,800 by 2,400 pixels to match what you're importing into your memory mates or whatever your design is. So just be strategic about it instead of just haphazardly building teams into documents with random sizes, and you'll be better off for that. Okay, I can't think of anything more to talk about this time, so I'm going to go back into the chat or into the webinar, and we'll see what we have.
Yes, we have quite a few.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'll go in order. So Jennifer asked if there's a data file starter, like in SPA with this one.
Oh, yeah. Let me share my screen again. There is, if you go into the home menu under data file starter, this one's pretty basic because there's not going to give you the option to create different columns. It's just, you grab the folder that has your teams. Now I got to find the, all right, so it's going to make this empty document here. Oh, wait, that's not the one. That's the one I already filled out. Okay, so you'll get an empty document that's got all of your images for that folder and then a team ID, and you'll just have to go in and enter in some kind of unique text for that team. There's no rules for what that has to be. It just has to match. Also, if you're like importing data from another service, you might have a bunch of other columns. That's fine. You can use this just to get your, well, you'll probably already have the players in that case, but this team ID column can be anywhere in the CSV. If you've got extra data in here that you need for something else like SPA or whatever, it's still going to find that column as long as it's team ID. All right, let's go back here.
And for the next one from Stephen, what's the ideal distance setting to hide the feet for second and third rows when building the team?
I'm not following the ideal.
So ideal distance setting. So like, like whatever the setting in Easy Team Builder would be to hide the feet for the second and third rows.
All right, let's go in there and look at it. There is no setting called distance. So Oops. All right, so trying to think of what he's talking about for distance here. I mean, there's spacing, which is the spacing between the rows, which raises each row. There's the scaling, which decreases the space between the player as their scaling goes up. I don't know. Let's probably discuss that one in the Facebook group because I'm not really sure what he's referring to there. They should all hide the feet pretty well. I think the main thing to hide the feet would actually be let's I've got multiple documents open. Oh, okay. I've got one here. That's just here we go. Let's use this one. Like when you go to build this document here, it's going to be the number of images per row. I mean, I guess, yeah, you see feet behind there. I mean, I don't know, but if you have the rows above it, if you were to go like 9 and 6, and then you had more rows above, you'd have I don't know, if you had the, like, for example, I think you need to be careful about having more rows above than you have below because then the feet are really noticeable. So if you step it down to where the longest row is on the bottom and then it steps down, you'll avoid showing these legs and feet on the edge. But anything further than that, I guess we'll have to discuss in the Facebook group. Okay, next question.
Next question is from Chad. Is there a way to save all the teams on one template?
Oh, yes, there is, as a matter of fact. I should have had that on my list of to-do. I didn't, so let's do that. Let's just do single row. Okay. Okay, so how you actually do that is not quite intuitive. Under the save settings, you have different file types you can save as. If you select no saving, it's going to give you a warning because you can and will crash your computer if you're trying to do something stupid like put 100 teams that each have 100 players in there and have 10,000 layers in there. You could crash it. So that's what that warning's about. So just be smart about it, I guess. And whatever your system can handle might be different than the next person's. I think we should still be good here with our CSV and that. Let's hit start. This should do it. We'll see. Unless I looked at something wrong there. All right, this seems like a long time, but in reality, it's not here. All right, so you got 2 teams here. And if you do this, it's going to name the layer name by whatever that folder was called. So keep in mind that it did not save anything. So you would have to save this as one big master document or hide each layer and then save it off as needed or adjust. You can do this directly inside of a template too. I just did it in a blank document, but it would work the same way. Okay, next question.
Next is from Russell. Will it add file names?
Add file names to what? To the layers? I'm thinking that's what he means. But like where it says row 1, player 1 here, you can, if you go into the build settings or layer names, there's numerical or file names. So if you put file names here, it's going to put the name of the file in each layer. If that's not what he's asking about, then maybe he'll reply there. But other than that, yeah, that's where it's gonna. That's the only place I could think of that he'd be talking about.
I was thinking if like each team was on its own PSD layer, and then PSD file, and then you can change the name for each of those. Oh, okay, no, that was it. Thanks, he said.
Well, it puts the name of the folder here for each team on the group. So, okay, next question.
Okay, and then from Paul, so at this time, we can't actually enter a team name into the CSV when using Team Builder. It still has to be automated through SPA.
Oh, yeah, this just builds the teams. That's still all through SPA. Unfortunately, because I guess my thought is that almost always you're going to need to adjust your teams anyway. So this isn't a full processor like SPA where it gives you the final finished product for the customers, because inevitably almost every team is going to need repositioned, tweaked a little bit, or some players moved around. So it's going to save 90% of your time, but you'll still have the team touch-ups. And if you want to import them into SPA, you're still going to have to do that spreadsheet. Okay, next.
Next is from Bob. If you wanted Easy Team to create a double row and a single row for different products, how would you do that? Multiple runs, or could you do a single run for different formats?
No, you'd have to do 2 runs. I'm trying to think of a way to do it with one, but it's not. So what you would do is you just run it once, change it to your different layout, run it again.
Okay. And then we got a few more. And then Rob asked, what is the limit number of athletes?
100 per row. So you could get 1,200 if you had 100 in each row for 12, but it doesn't do more than 12 rows. I know some people have asked about that, but that's a huge project because I pretty much have to start over from the very bottom of the code for how it's designed and how the sequencing is. And there's just a whole bunch I have to undo to build in the other rows. So maybe down the road. But initially, it was supposed to be Easy Team Builder. I wasn't thinking Easy City Builder or Easy Graduate Class Builder, but people have been using it for entire schools. And I've seen one person use it for every team in the whole city league. So in that case, like I say, that's your max. So okay, next question.
And then from Ron, so when we build a CSV for SPA, can we add another column for team ID? So we use the same CSV file in SPA and Easy Team Builder?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. And then, Bob just had a comment. Would be great to auto mask up a percentage on each row next version.
Okay. There's never ends. It doesn't matter what I do. There's always going to be more that needs done. So, I mean, in action, it can maybe do that. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Okay, next question.
That's all we have for questions. Len did ask if we can do a quick walkthrough for how to do shadows reflections using Workflow Helper, but I think we're just doing Easy Team Builder today.
Yeah, that's a whole ball of wax because as much as action, it'd be nice to automate shadows and reflections. The whole truth of the matter is those don't always look great, no matter how good you make the actions. So like your heels don't line up and only the toes. Now where they're standing like this, it's not too bad. But if they start standing angled or one foot vertically is higher than the other foot, you have mismatches. And there's just, I'm not going to get into how to make shadows and reflections here. So maybe a different video down the road.
Okay, and that is all for the questions, unless someone else says something now.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just end it here, but I'll point out to the people who are not using Easy Team Builder yet that if you're doing this by hand, this is a huge time saver, even if it doesn't do 100% start to finish to get your product ready to sell. And the amount of time it takes you to import each image, scale them, position them. I mean, hopefully you can see the time savings here. And if you're not automating, just keep this in mind. Your customer or your competition, I should say, probably is automating. So if you want to stay competitive, it's really important to automate. And I try to make this the best automation tool I could make for teams. There might be some others out there that can automate. I don't know, but I don't think anything can do it to the level this can. All right, there's nothing more?
One more now. Are you going to discuss pricing and maybe a discount code?
No. I'm going to be flat out with that. This program was too much time to make, and I don't feel right about giving new customers discounts and still charging the other people the full price. My business model is I just try to be fair and make the price the same for everybody. So I do think that the price I'm offering this for comes with all these different plugins here. And if you can think about the amount of time this plugin will save you, if you're a volume photographer, I mean, the price of the whole suite is $349. If you save just 10 hours per year, that's $34 an hour on your time. If you're saving 34 hours a year or 35 hours a year, that's $10 an hour for your time savings. If you're saving hundreds of hours a year, you're getting down to where if you're not using this and doing it by hand, you're valuing your time at $1 an hour or whatever. So I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. No, I think it's priced very competitively for what it is. I don't think anybody else is offering anything like this at anywhere near this price for what I'm offering for this suite. Because keep in mind, you get sports photo automation, you get this, you get easy composites for the class composites, and quite a bit with this. Sorry to go on a soapbox there, but it just is what it is. Anything else, Alyssa?
That looks like it for now. Just a few compliments.
Okay, well, thanks, everybody. If you have any further questions, post these in the Facebook chat because we will be there to answer them, or post those in the tech support forum as well. We'll check out now and be looking forward to seeing what you guys create with this.